Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be removing and replacing the upper and lower control arms on my 2010 Ford Focus. The first thing you're going to want to do is lift the back of the vehicle, and you can do that by lifting on this pinch weld here and then lowering it back down onto a jack stand. And you're going to want to do that for both sides. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove both the rear wheels. And this is a 19mm socket, if you didn't already know that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my jack underneath this lower control arm here because of the pressure from the spring. You don't want to take it off and have that arm go flying. So I'm going to remove this bolt here. On this end, it's a 15mm towards the back of the car, and then towards the front of the car, it's an 18mm. Okay, so now we can go ahead and lower the jack. The next thing I'm gonna do is on the other end of this control arm here, I'm gonna take my death wheel and cut this bolt off, this cam bolt, because I've had this nut off before, and the bolt itself, there's a sleeve in here that's metal. The bolt is rusted, seized into that sleeve there. So I've had a sledgehammer trying to pound this out before, and it was just bending the subframe here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this bolt out because that's the only way I see to be able to change this. Alright, finally got it out. What I'm going to be doing is removing this upper control arm here. Hooks up to the knuckle on that side and goes up into the subframe right up there. So this upper one here on the brake side is the same as the lower rearward one was. 15 on this side towards the front though, and 18 on the back side. Alright, there's that one. And actually I think this bolt is welded in there, so you probably don't need to have a wrench holding that side. Alright, there's that one. So now you should be able to try this out very carefully. On this side over here, there's a brake line right above it, so you don't want to rip it out of there and damage that brake line. So just very carefully work it out of there on this side. Alright, there we go. So there's those two control arms. There's one more lower one towards the front. If I would have thought about it, I should have ordered these two and just went ahead and changed them out since I was already this far, but it's probably the easiest one to get to. It's probably got the 18 is welded in there, and the other side is 15. So if you're gonna go ahead and do that, then go ahead and take that one off as well. Okay, so I'm just making sure I've got the right parts here before I put them on. I got a new AC Delco lower control arm, and I got a adjustable upper control arm from Detroit Axle. I'm actually gonna go ahead and adjust this out a little bit so that it lines up perfectly with this old one. Then the important cam bolts from Dorman. If you have to cut your old ones off, you're going to want to make sure to remember to order some new cam bolts. Lower control arm, you've got this little bump stop here. The new one doesn't come with one, so you're gonna have to pull the old one off. Oh, there we go. Hopefully it'll go on this new one without too much of a fight. I'm gonna put a little bit of grease on this to hopefully slide it on easier. Yep, goes on pretty easy, but it's kind of a pain to take it off. Okay, so how you adjust these Detroit Axle upper control arms, you need to loosen this nut. It is reverse thread, so righty loosey, lefty tighty. And then this top part here spins. It's also obviously reverse thread, so spin it right to spin it out. And so I've got, the way I'm lining this up here is I've got a bolt through this end and through this end, and it seems to be pretty close. So that's how I'm going to leave it, and obviously I'm going to take it to get aligned after this. So I'm just doing this so it doesn't eat up the tires very bad, just to get it to the alignment shop. But now you can go ahead and tighten this one back up and then get it nice and snug, and this will be ready to be put back on there now. On the lower control arm, there's a groove right there where that hole is. that is where the spring sits, the end of the spring. Okay, so we're ready to put this upper control arm back on. Again, be careful with this brake line here. Okay. Okay, I've got both of these bolts snugged up on the top here. So now I'm ready to get the bottom side tackled. So on this lower one, I am going to get this inside part put up first. And there's a groove on these washers that they fit over on these bolts, so you can adjust the cam. Slide that in. This. Okay. And so now is probably the tricky part, trying to get the spring put back up in there. We're going to use the jack, kind of how like we lowered it, but we're going to raise it back up and get it into place and then put the bolt through. Okay, so I've got it all set up, so now I'm just raising it up with the jack. Getting it lined up might be a little bit tricky. Alright, there's that one. Is nice and tight. We gotta try to get that cam bolt as close to it was before, so it's aligned, hopefully aligned somewhat closely. So I'm gonna go back through the video and see how it looked before. Okay, so the lopsided part of it was facing in just ever so slightly, so I'm gonna twist it in just a little bit. Okay, so I've got it in the position I want it, so I'm going to hold it there and then tighten it up. You're going to tighten the nut of it, not the bolt, because the bolt will spin the washers. Alright, so there you go. It's all, we've got everything tight now. So we're done with this side, and now we're ready to move on to the other side, which is exactly the same, just on the opposite side of the vehicle. So we've got the wheels put back on now. Everything's tightened up. So the only thing left now is to lower it back to the ground, and that is how you change the upper and lower control arms on your 2010 Ford Focus.